Sitting is not an option. I don't know if you guys saw that last week, but Apple CEO Tim Cook was out and about pre-promoting the launch of the Apple iWatch in March. And fantastic soundbite. I picked it up across social media, but sitting is the new cancer. That's the picture that was posted with that image. I didn't pick that to make Tim look like that. That's just how I saw it mostly reported. But it was interesting that sitting is the new cancer. I mean, from our perspective, Yas Marina Circuit, we're heavily invested in community health and fitness. It's really interesting to see the world's biggest company, a market cap of $700 billion, taking a primary interest in health and fitness. The iWatch launch will be all about the health aspects. So what Tim Cook is referring to here is the pulse on the back of the watch, which will tap your wrist after an hour of inactivity. So trying to push the getting people more active. A great quote as well, because I thought cancer was still the new cancer. I don't think we cracked cancer yet, but definitely sitting is not an option, and it was an inspiration for this presentation tonight. I want to say something about our involvement in health and fitness. You probably all know what we do at Yas Marina Circuit. We have Train Yas on a Tuesday night and Go Yas on a Wednesday night for females only. But what you may not know is the fantastic growth we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years. Just in 2014, we just under 180,000 visits to the circuit through health and fitness activities. That includes Train Yas. We saw a peak of 4,000 on Tuesday night, end of 2014. On Go Yas, a Wednesday night, which is only females, we're getting on average 1,000 visits per Wednesday night. We have also lots of other events. We have our Try Yas, of course. We'll see the 5th edition tomorrow. We have a run. We have the walk. We have European hand carts. We've had an urbanathlon, color run. And we do all of this with our partners, primarily Demand, Active Life, and CCAD. But really, what works is not that we provide a fantastic venue, which it is, of course, built for the Grand Prix 7 years ago. But it's not so much the venue, it's the fact that we put a lot of emphasis on the community that surrounds the circuit, and that's what has driven this growth that we believe. And we look at our community, Yas, as a matrix of people who are serious about getting fit and people who haven't yet started to think about getting fit. Public sector, private sector, verticals, what we call events, and horizontals, which are the ongoing programs. So we see it in a three-dimensional way, a matrix, if you like. And for us, approaching it as a community rather than as a venue that we open to the community is very much key and core to the success. I wanted to share something specific to Try Yas, given that we're on the eve of Try Yas. We put a very large emphasis on data. Data of the consumers or of the activities that happen at the circuit as regards health and fitness, but not because we want the data in some sort of creepy CRM kind of a way, but so that we can understand the behavior and the activity much better. And not so much that we can just understand it, but so that we can push it back out to the community and they can understand it better as well. And that's very core for us here in building the community at Yas Marina Circuit. So what we're doing, you may have noticed that when we asked you to register for this year's Try Yas, we asked some additional information other than the information that's relating to your Try Yas participation. We asked your gender, we asked your exercise frequency, we asked your exercise intensity, your age, nationality, as well as your height and your weight. Now from that, we can pull an aggregate BMI. And this data behind me is from 800 respondents to the full registration, which allows us to pull a map like this. And we can profile tomorrow's event, which is really interesting for us, but more importantly, it's interesting for you as individuals as well as you as a community of health and fitness participants. You can see that, interestingly, maybe not a surprise, but if you look at our female-male split, where Try Yas is approximately 2/3 male, 1/3 female. The females are BMIs averaging at 22, with the males' BMI is averaging at just under 25. The average BMI across the full set, the 800 for Try Yas, is at 23.9. Now what's interesting, we did this exercise for the walk last November with ICLDC, and the average, the BMI averaged out at just under 26. Now then you look at the exercise frequency, and it's probably no surprise that you can see that frequent and dedicated is forming the primary profile in terms of exercise frequency. We've got some irregulars up the top there, but very much an outlier. Then you look at exercise intensity, and you can see, no surprise, obviously, we're seeing a large cluster of exercise intensity at high. So the size of the bubble, I should say, is also representative of the size of the number of respondents in that particular set. So the bigger the bubble, the bigger the group of people. But you can see predominantly it's high. The very light is just a little dot, so high and vigorous exercise intensity. Now what's interesting, you can see obviously those who are exercising vigorously have a higher BMI because they're converting from fat into muscle, which obviously BMI is a crude indicator. But it's good for our purposes because it allows us to get an overview or a community view of our participants. And then you see the age. Tri-YAS is for oldies. I hope I've not insulted anyone, but we need to work on the younger audience for Tri-YAS. And that's why, for example, we're bringing in the kids try. Tomorrow, it's the first time we'll have brought in the kids try, and it's data like this that allows us to go, listen, we need to bring this event to a younger audience so that we're bringing them at a younger age into the sport. And then you can see also that we've got large participation from the UK, and then there's South Africa and USA, and actually a really good showing from the UAE. It's really important for us as a community triathlon event that we see good participation from the UAE community, and we will do certain things to facilitate that. So for example, we're working with Sheikha Fatima bint Mubarak Sports Academy to ensure that we have a number of first-timer UAE national female triathletes, and we'll see nearly 60 of those tomorrow. So that's another great story for us. But the data here is really interesting for us so that we can then develop the event. But more importantly, it's interesting for you as individuals and as a group so you can understand more about how health and fitness is affecting you and your community. So we will be sharing all of this information back out to the community. Now, how we think about, as I mentioned, we're a community of people, we're not a venue, if you like, and that's what we believe allows us to develop our health and fitness community engagement. And there are certain things that we share, or a mindset or a philosophy we approach health and fitness. There's a number of things. Share the code. We are not secretive about what we believe to be the formula for success. We talk about it with all of our partners. We talk about it with those we work with on events, if they're bringing events into the circuit, because some of those events we own, some of the events we don't own. We're very happy to share our IP or share our knowledge. We believe in an open platform where if we share today, someone will share with us tomorrow, and we'll all be better off the day after. Aggregate data, data is very important for us. It allows us, as I showed you through the BMI data for Tri-YAS, it allows us to better understand the community. Because if you use it just from a personal preference perspective, or you take it for what you see, you don't really get a sense of what's actually happening at the event. And pulling the data really allows us to understand what's happening. And we do that through all of our community. And the data, for example, is the reason why we developed Go YAS. What we saw was that there were very few female UAE nationals participating in Train YAS. What we could have done is marketed Train YAS to UAE national females, but through the data we understood that actually what it required is a very different product. It needed to focus on privacy, it needed to focus on fun and less elitism as the sport develops in the community. Connect technologies, so we're obviously very digitally oriented, so we want to engage our audiences when they're not here at the circuit, and we use technology to do that. And we obviously try and integrate all of our platforms, whether it's our website, social media, or our apps, for example. Tracking engagement, like I said, we like to be able to understand what's going on so that we can feed it back out to the community. It actually allows us to game health and fitness and make it more interesting and more fun. And actually what we do, and this is what I wanted to talk about tonight, I wanted to put a proposal to you. We look at it not as an event, we look at it as a community, and we look at have that matrix point of view. But stepping back, what if we could do something similar, but not just at the Yas Marina circuit level, but at a much broader level? What if, for example, we set this goal? What if we all collectively, as participants in a health and fitness community, set out to make Abu Dhabi the healthiest city in the world? For us, we think that will be a hugely positive and motivating thing to do. Now, when exactly we would get there, what it would take to get there, we don't even know if that thing exists, so we have to figure out what the criteria is, but all of that exercise is a really positive thing. And this is what we do daily when we think about community Yasmini Circuit. Why don't we all do it as a health and fitness community? It doesn't have to be Abu Dhabi, by the way. It could be the UAE. So the UAE could be the healthiest country, but we wanted to keep it at a community level, so we're focusing on Abu Dhabi for the purposes of this proposal. So what if we could make Abu Dhabi the healthiest city in the world? If you like, a bottom-up, grassroots, community-owned, consumer-driven health and fitness revolution. We know that in Abu Dhabi we have lots of influence and emphasis coming from the top down, and that needs to exist. But what if we all took responsibility and accountability for the development of Abu Dhabi's health and fitness at an aggregate level and started to do the sorts of things that I mentioned we were doing or trying to do with our partners at Yas Marina Circuit? So the sorts of things that we think, as part of this proposal, we should all be working on together as a group. A health matrix. So I mentioned that at Yas Marina Circuit, we think about the verticals and the horizontals. We think about the partners, the private sector, the government sector, the public sector. We think about our ongoing programs, and we think about our events. Think about it in a three-dimensional matrix fashion. If we, for example, all of us in this room, or all of us in Abu Dhabi, thought about health and fitness the same way and got ourselves organized and understood health and fitness in a similar way in Abu Dhabi, that would be a wonderful thing. A health ladder. What it would allow us to do is, as Abu Dhabi, allow us to develop a ladder which would start at walking, go into cycling or running, cycling, swimming, triathlon, and break out into other sports. What we find is that Abu Dhabi isn't speaking, or potentially isn't speaking, so that we may oversupply in some events and undersupply in other events. So if we had a ladder, we'll be able to properly organize the number of events and the types of events that are available in the calendar. Speaking of which, the health calendar. There is no cooperation, formal cooperation on the calendar. If we all informally, perhaps it doesn't have to be formal, but we all took collective responsibility for the calendar so that we weren't all trying to put out the same event on the same weekend, but we saw that we were trying to spread ourselves across a 12-month period. I know it sounds obvious, but it actually needs us to come together and organize ourselves to deliver it. Health forums, just like this. HealthX was designed as a forum for people to talk about health and fitness, to talk about what they were doing or how they're doing it, what success meant for them and how they were achieving success. We saw Jess talk about social media. Jess has got significantly more Instagram followers than we do at Yas Marina Circuit, and we put a lot of effort and resource into Instagram. So, it's great for us to see how we can do it better. A health index. Now, if we want to be the best or the fittest city in the world, we need a NASDAQ type index where we can benchmark ourselves and improve over time. So we need to set that criteria. Why don't we do that? The exercise itself would be a great experience. Health hub. We need new creativity, new ideas, innovation. Why don't we have a health and fitness free zone or creative department, just as they have, for example, for media down at 2454. So where are all the ideas for new creative ideas, new events, new formats, new technologies, new ways to engage audiences? Health entertainment, gaming, content, the content we see on local TV. How can we contribute and be part of the development of content for broadcast TV as well as across gaming and apps and so on? Health entrepreneurs. There are lots of things in the market that we should try and support. For example, myself and Khan, a colleague at Yas Marina Circuit, introduced Bulletproof Coffee, which we tried for a while. It's this new enhanced super coffee, I guess. Running desks. What about we trial across a number of companies in Abu Dhabi? You know the desks where you can actually run you can run on the spot instead of sitting at your desk. So bringing in these new fun products and testing them. And the health fund. Perhaps for all of us we could get together and agree that there is a small percentage of what we do or what we get out of our businesses, and we create a fund which will explore, research, develop data, develop things that would assist and benefit the community, all with the purpose of trying to make Abu Dhabi the healthiest city in the world. Who's in? Thank you very much.